Hello everybody, thank you so much for joining me again today. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm reading a couple of chapters from the wonderful book Awareness by Anthony De Mello, subtitled The Perils and Opportunities of Reality. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy. The first chapter I'm going to be reading is chapter 39, titled Filtered Reality. Let's begin. Filtered reality. I want to say one more thing about our perception of reality. Let me put it in the form of an analogy. The President of the United States has to get feedback from the citizens. The Pope in Rome has to get feedback from the whole church. There are literally millions of items that could be fed to them, but they could hardly take all of them in, much less digest them. So they have people whom they trust to make abstracts, summarize things, monitor, filter. In the end, some of it gets to their desk. Now, this is what's happening to us. From every pore or living cell of our bodies, and from all our senses, we are getting feedback from reality. But we are filtering things out constantly. Who's doing the filtering? Our conditioning? Our culture? Our programming? The way we were taught to see things and to experience them? Even our language can be a filter. There is so much filtering going on that sometimes you won't see things that are there. You only have to look at a paranoid person who's always feeling threatened by something that isn't there, who's constantly interpreting reality in terms of certain experiences of the past or certain conditions that he or she has had. But there's another demon too, who's doing the filtering. It's called attachment, desire, craving. The root of sorrow is craving. Craving distorts and destroys perception. Fears and desires haunt us. Samuel Johnson said, "The knowledge that he is to swing from a scaffold within a week wonderfully concentrates a man's mind." You blot out everything else and concentrate only on the fear, or desire, or craving. In many ways, we were drugged when we were young. We were brought up to need people. For what? For acceptance, approval, appreciation, applause. For what they called success. Those are words that do not correspond to reality. They are conventions, things that are invented, but we don't realize that they don't correspond to reality. What is success? It is what one group decides is a good thing. Another group will decide the same thing is bad. What is good in Washington might be considered bad in Carthusian monastery. Success in a political circle might be considered failure in some other circles. These are conventions, but we treat them like realities, don't we? When we were young, we were programmed to unhappiness. They taught us that in order to be happy, you need money, success, a beautiful or handsome partner in life, a good job, friendship, spirituality, God, you name it. Unless you get these things, you're not going to be happy, we were told. Now, that is what I call an attachment. An attachment is a belief that without something, you are not going to be happy. Once you get convinced of that, and it gets into your subconscious, it gets stamped in the roots of your being. You are finished. How could I be happy unless I have good health, you say? But I'll tell you something. I have met people dying of cancer who were happy. But how could they be happy if they knew they were going to die? But they were. How could I be happy if I don't have money? One person has $1 million in the bank and he feels insecure. The other person has practically no money, but he doesn't seem to feel any insecurity at all. He was programmed differently, that's all. Useless to exhort the first person about what to do. He needs understanding. Exhortations are of no great help. You need to understand that you've been programmed. It's a false belief. See it as false. See it as a fantasy. What are people doing all through their lives? They're busy fighting. Fight, fight, fight. That's what they call survival. When the average American says he or she is making a living, it isn't a living they're making. Oh no. They have much more than they need to live. Come to my country and you'll see that. You don't need all those cars to live. You don't need a television set to live. You don't need makeup to live. You don't need all those clothes to live. But try to convince the average American of this. They've been brainwashed. They've been programmed. So they work and strive to get the desired objects that will make them happy. Listen to this pathetic story. Your story, my story, everybody's story. Until I get this object, money, friendship, anything, I'm not going to be happy. I've got to strive to get it. And then when I've got it, I've got to strive to keep it. I got a temporary thrill. Oh, I'm so thrilled. I've got it. But how long does that last? A few minutes? A few days at the most? When you get your brand new car, how long does the thrill last? Until your next attachment is threatened. The truth about a thrill is that I get tired of it after a while. They told me prayer was the big thing. They told me God was the big thing. They told me friendship was the big thing. And not knowing what prayer really was, or not knowing what God really was, not knowing what friendship really was, we made much of out of them. But after a while, we got bored with them, bored with prayer, with God, with friendship. Isn't that pathetic? And there's no way out. There's simply no way out. It's the only model we were given to be happy. We weren't given any other model. Our culture, our society, and I'm sorry to say, even our religion gave us no other model. You've been appointed a cardinal. What a great honor that is. Honor, did you say? Honor? You used the wrong word. Now others are going to aspire to it. You lapse into what the Gospels call the world, and you're going to lose your soul. The world's power, prestige, winning, success, honor, etc. are non-existent things. You gain the world, but you lose your soul. Your whole life has been empty and soulless. There is nothing there. There's only one way out, and that is to get deprogrammed. How do you do that? You become aware of the programming. You cannot change by an effort of the will. You cannot change through ideals. You cannot change through building up new habits. Your behavior may change, but you don't. You only change through awareness and understanding. When you see a stone as a stone and a scrap of paper as a scrap of paper, you don't think that the stone is a precious diamond anymore, and you don't think that the scrap of paper is a check for $1 billion. When you see that, you change. There's no violence anymore in your attempt to change yourself. Otherwise, what you call change is simply moving the furniture around. Your behavior has changed, but not you. That's the end of chapter 39, entitled Filtered Reality. Let's begin with chapter 40, titled Detachment. The only way to change is by changing your understanding. But what does it mean to understand? How do we go about it? Consider how we're enslaved by various attachments. We're striving to rearrange the world so that we can keep these attachments, because the world is a constant threat to them. I fear that a friend may stop loving me. He or she may turn to somebody else. I have to keep making myself attractive because I have to get this other person. Somebody brainwashed me into thinking I need his or her love, but I really don't. I don't need anybody's love. I just need to get in touch with reality. I need to break out of this prison of mine, this programming, this conditioning, these false beliefs, these fantasies. I need to break out into reality. Reality is lovely. It is an absolute delight. Eternal life is now. We're surrounded by it like the fish in the ocean, but we have no notion about it at all. We're too distracted with this attachment. Temporarily, the world rearranges itself to suit our attachments, so we say, yeah, great, my team won. But hang on, it'll change. You'll be depressed tomorrow. Why do we keep doing this? Do this little exercise for a few minutes. Think of something or someone you are attached to. In other words, something or someone without which or without whom you think you are not going to be happy. It could be your job, your career, your profession, your friend, your money, whatever. And say to this object or person, I really do not need you to be happy. I'm only deluding myself in the belief that without you, I will not be happy. But I really don't need you for my happiness. I can be happy without you. You are not my happiness. You are not my joy. If your attachment is a person, he or she is not going to be very happy to hear you say this, but go ahead anyway. You can say it in the secrecy of your heart. In any case, you'll be making contact with the truth. You'll be smashing through a fantasy. Happiness is a state of non-illusion, of dropping the illusion. Or you could try another exercise. Think of a time when you were heartbroken and thought you would never be happy again. Your husband died, your wife died, your best friend deserted you, you lost your money. What happened? Time went on, and if you managed to pick up another attachment or managed to find somebody else you were attracted to or something else you were attracted to, what happened to the old attachment? You didn't really need it to be happy, did you? That should have taught you, but we never learned. We're programmed, we're conditioned. How liberating it is to not depend emotionally on anything. If you could get 1 second experience of that, you'd be breaking through your prison and getting a glimpse of the sky. Someday maybe you'll even fly. I was afraid to say this, but then I talked to God and I told him that I don't need him. My initial reaction was, this is so contrary to everything that I've been brought up with. Now, some people want to make an exception of their attachment to God. They say, if God is the God that I think he ought to be, he's not going to like it when I give up my attachment to him. All right. If you think that unless you get God, you're not going to be happy, then this God you're thinking of has nothing to do with the real God. You're thinking of a dream state. You're thinking of your concept. Sometimes you have to get rid of God in order to find God. Lots of mystics tell us that. We've been so blinded by everything that we have not discovered the basic truth that attachments hurt rather than help relationships. I remember how frightened I was to say to an intimate friend of mine, I really don't need you. I can be perfectly happy without you. And by telling you this, I can find and enjoy your company thoroughly. No more anxieties, no more jealousies, no more possessiveness, no more clinging. It is a delight to be with you. And when I am with you, enjoying on a non-clinging basis, you're free and so am I. But to many of you, I'm sure this is like talking a foreign language. It took me many, many months to fully understand this. And mind you, I'm a Jesuit, whose spiritual exercises are all about exactly this. Although I missed the point because my culture and my society in general had taught me to view people in terms of my attachments, I'm quite amused sometimes to see even seemingly objective people like therapists and spiritual directors say of someone, he's a great, great guy, I really like him. I find out later that it's because he likes me that I like him. I look into myself and I find the same thing coming up now and again. If you're attached to appreciation and praise, you're going to view people in terms of their threat to your attachment or their fostering of your attachment. If you're a politician and you want to be elected, how do you think you're going to look at people? How will your interest in people be guided? You will be concerned for the person who's going to vote for you. If what you're interested is in sex, how do you think you're going to look at men and women? If you're attracted to power, that colors your view of human beings. And attachment destroys your capacity to love. What is love? Love is sensitivity. Love is consciousness. To give you an example, I'm listening to a symphony, but if all I hear is the sound of the drums, I don't hear the symphony. What is a loving heart? A loving heart is sensitive to the whole of life, to all persons. A loving heart doesn't harden itself to any person or thing. But the moment you become attached, in my sense of the word, then you're blocking out many other things. You've got eyes only for the object of your attachment. You've got ears only for the drums. The heart has hardened. Moreover, it's blinded because it no longer sees the object of his attachment objectively. Love entails clarity of perception, objectivity. There is nothing so clear-sighted as love. That concludes Chapter 40, entitled Detachment. Thank you for joining me so far. I'm going to finish up with Chapter 41, entitled Addictive Love. Addictive love. The heart in love remains soft and sensitive, but when you're hell-bent on getting this or the other thing, you become ruthless, hard, and insensitive. How can you love people when you need people? You can only use them. If I need you to make me happy, I've got to use you. I've got to manipulate you. I've got to find ways and means of winning you. I cannot let you be free. I can only love people when I have emptied my life of people. When I die to the need for people, then I'm right in the desert. In the beginning, it feels awful. It feels lonely. But if you can take it for a while, you'll suddenly discover that it isn't lonely at all. It is solitude. It is aloneness, and the desert begins to flower. Then at last, you'll know what love is, what God is, what reality is. But in the beginning, giving up the drug can be tough. Unless you have a very keen understanding, or unless you have suffered enough, it's a great thing to have suffered. Only then can you get sick of it. You can make use of suffering to end suffering. Most people simply go on suffering. That explains the conflict I sometimes have between the role of a spiritual director and that of a therapist. A therapist says, let's ease the suffering. The spiritual director says, let her suffer. She'll get sick of it this way, of relating to people, and she'll finally decide to break out of this prison of emotional dependence on others. Shall I offer a palliative or remove a cancer? It's not easy to decide. A person slams a book on the table in disgust. Let him keep slapping it on the table. Don't pick up the book for him and tell him it's all right. Spirituality is awareness. Awareness, awareness, awareness. When your mother got angry with you, she didn't say there was something wrong with her. She said there was something wrong with you. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been angry. Well, I made the great discovery that if you are angry, mother, there's something wrong with you. So you'd better cope with your anger. Stay with it and cope with it. It's not mine. Whether there's something wrong with me or not, I'll examine that independently of your anger. I'm not going to be influenced by your anger. The funny thing is that when I can do this without feeling any negativity towards the other person, I can be quite objective about myself too. Only a very aware person can refuse to pick up the guilt and anger, can say, "You're having a tantrum. Too bad. I don't feel the slightest desire to rescue anymore, and I refuse to feel guilty." I'm not going to hate myself for anything I've done. That's what guilt is. I'm not going to give myself a bad feeling and whip myself for anything I have done, either right or wrong. I'm ready to analyze it, to watch it and say, well, if I did wrong, it was in unawareness. Nobody does wrong in awareness. That's why theologians tell us very beautifully that Jesus could do no wrong. That makes very good sense to me because the enlightened person can do no wrong. The enlightened person is free. Jesus was free, and because he was free, he couldn't do any wrong. But since you can do wrong, you're not free. I really appreciate you guys joining me on this channel and sharing in these wonderful books. If you've enjoyed today's readings, please leave a comment, like, and subscribe to the channel, and share with anybody that you think might enjoy it as well. I hope that you guys have a wonderful and beautiful day. Thank you all so much.